can't fix it, we don't know that there's a problem. So we encourage you to let us know about those kind of things. So on the renovation side, we have a large two-bedroom that is nearing the end of construction on the ninth floor. That's on the, what do we call that? That's this wing. That's the north wing, right? Yeah. There's the west wing and the north wing. So we expect those folks will join us probably in October, early November, somewhere in that range. We've also just barely started, but we'll move more into more invasive construction on the seventh floor. We have actually, there were 3 one-bedrooms there that are being turned into 2 two-bedroom units. So if you're on that same, actually, that's on the west wing. You'll be aware, if you live on the west wing on the 7th floor, you'll be very aware of all the activities going on there. We do try to be clean and neat. Gary has his folks walk off on a mat to try to keep most of the dust and debris inside, but it will affect water periodically. It can sometimes affect electricity, but certainly there's noise, and we try to do that in a reasonable period of time each day, so we're not interrupting anyone's sleep at night. So those are the 3 main units that we're renovating now. And on the 7th floor, it's 708, which will be first, quickly followed almost simultaneously by 704. Both of those units are pre-sold, as well as the one on the 9th floor, which is important to us because that helps fund our construction efforts. So we don't have to go into our existing cash reserves to do that type of work. From a vacancy standpoint, in terms of, and this is only for independent living, but if in terms of what is currently vacant, meaning it's nobody's living there and it's not earning any revenue, but is also ready to be sold. So we have units that are not ready. We don't count those in our vacancy because we're in the process of modifying those, improving those. Sometimes they're part of conversions or combinations of units that will happen further down the road. But when we get 2 apartments next to each other that become empty, that give us the ability to make a 2-bedroom, we will hold those apartments for a reasonable period of time because, as many of you may understand, and it has a lot to do with the growth in the housing market in Seattle, that the demand is for large 2-bedrooms apartments, and we just have not had very many ever here. So other than at the Coves, we're making more of those every time we get the opportunity. So Cove East continues to be fully occupied. There are 4 scheduled move-ins right now that will happen this year. This is unrelated to the two bedrooms we're working on the 7th floor. They won't be ready this year. The 9th floor will be, but then we also have Jill, and with the help of Ariana, I think we have 3 others, so a total of 4 move-ins scheduled in the next few months before the end of the year. And I think that's great. Every time we get a new resident, I think that's excellent. What is available is we have 4 one-bedrooms, 3 are over here in Lakeside, 1 is in Cove West, and then we have 3 available studios. We use one of those as a guest room. And I'll say this, a lot of folks have asked about, can we get more guest rooms? And the need for that is generally in the summer, and unfortunately we're kind of past that now. But I will tell you, the guest room does not stay booked solid. It's a first come, first serve. You communicate with the front desk if you need that for a friend or family. But if we come into next spring and we still have 1 or more of those studios sort of sitting, they don't sell very often. That's just not a particular attractive accommodation right now. So I'll tell you now that I would hope to be able to create a second guest room. I know in the past there's been as many as 2. And I think that's something we can consider if the studio is available. There was also a question about a guest room over in the Cove areas, and the Cove areas are so new, so beautiful, and so much in demand that we would not take an apartment offline to use it for a guest room. So I'm sorry that we don't have an accommodation closer over there, but we certainly have 1 available here. Hopefully we get to 2. I will also tell you that in rare situations, I know we had a resident to pass, and the family was coming in. They were going to be here for quite some time. And we set them up in another room other than the guest room. I mean, we will always do the right thing. We want to support you, support your family. So if an urgent, unexpected need like that comes up, you just have to let us know. The front desk manages those, but Ariana is actually the person that sort of knows what's open and what can be used for various purposes. Let's see, anything else on that? And so our sales occupancy, what Jill's responsible for, is 95.7%. That's where I need it to be and to stay at 95 or better. Is what I'm used to in my career. The actual occupancy, if you take in account those units that are under construction or offline and being held for other purposes, that's 86.5%. So that's an effective census, but the one we really look to in terms of sale is those that are ready, what percentage of those have been sold. Okay. Wait list continues to be strong, over 300. That's Jill's report. I'm going to update you on a couple of things that Frank and I spoke about this week. The first is, what's going on with paid parking and changes to parking in and around our buildings. And it's no longer just Lakeside. It's now inclusive of the two co-buildings because they're planning to make the parking in front of the Woodlawn portion of the parking in front of the two co-buildings. They're planning to make that paid parking as well. So we've been in an ongoing conversation, I say we, mainly Frank and I, with a representative of the city. Her name is Virginia Nadimi, and wonderful lady, been very nice. We've corresponded back and forth, and we are scheduling her to come here to speak with Frank and I and to tour, walk around our properties and try to understand our needs with regard to parking. So more to come on that. I just want everybody to know that we were aware of that as soon as you were. When all of you got your little flyers in your mailboxes, we didn't get one. But fortunately, one of you brought it to the front desk, they brought it to me, and we immediately began to communicate with the city. So we feel good about what's happening. If you haven't heard, initially they were intending to take our side of Sunnyside Avenue over here, or street, whichever that is, Avenue, I think. Our side of that has a few parking places. They have now rescinded that. Those will not be paid parking. They'll continue as they're planned to be. They are turning all of the parking here in front of our building on Green Lake Way. That is all becoming paid parking. I have mixed emotions about that, but we may not be able to fight that. What has come about, though, is the expression of our need and their understanding of at least one additional handicap space here on First Avenue. We have one handicap space, and we have one loading zone. It was we've told them we'd like to have a handicap space. They said, well, you got to go to the state and deal with that. Then the next time they communicated with us, they're like, we think we've got it approved for you to have a second handicap space. So stay tuned on that. I think that's great, particularly for those of you that have friends, of our generation that may need to park close. Of course, we do have at least one space here that we try to make available for guests on an as-needed basis for a limited period of time. But so we still don't know exactly what's going to happen on First Avenue. That's one of the things we'll be talking about with Virginia. She also is really interested in understanding our cove buildings. I don't know if you've ever counted, but we have like 6 different street addresses down there. All the different, the bridge has 2 different addresses, and then the 2 buildings themselves, the bistro has 2 or 3 different addresses, the craft room has an address, and then if you turn the corner onto 4th Avenue, the actual main front entrance of Cove East has a separate address. So she's trying to understand what all that means and in terms of how it will impact the need for parking here. I think I have one. Well, I'll give you just a quick update on the financial side. I really meant to tell Peter to be in here. Peter Schultz joined us about a month ago. Yeah, Ariana's going to get him. I'd just like for you to see what he looks like. As you know, our former controller, Chateau, was out on maternity leave for quite a while and then came back and almost immediately gave her notice. She's decided to be a stay-at-home mom. I endorse that. I think that's great. I'm glad that she and her family can do that. I talked with the board, Jack McKittrick, our CFO. We worked together, and we tried to move toward building a better, stronger, more efficient accounting department. So you may not see evidence of that just yet, but we are moving in that direction pretty quickly. Come on up here. You can raise your hand. Peter joins us, and this is not, this is purely coincidence. It was nothing that I did. He worked with a recruiter, but Peter also worked for Merrill Gardens most recently. This is Peter Strauss, everybody. He's our accounting manager. My plan for him is to keep him on a track to become the next role I hope that he will hold, and we don't know how long that'll take, but we'll get there together, is director of accounting. That puts him at a level with the rest of our directors here. And then one day I think it's feasible he would be our chief financial officer. Jack continues in that role. There's been no change with Jack. He's our employee, but he is a part-time chief financial officer. He lives in St. Louis, Missouri. He commutes back and forth always once a month, sometimes twice a month. He's a part of every board meeting, and he stays online. He was managing our accounting team, and up until recently, that was Matthew, and you may have never met Matthew. Matthew's quiet. He works in the back. He doesn't interact a lot with residents. And Jillian, who is our accounts receivable specialist, she's the one you would interact with related to your invoice or your billing or questions about that. She was also doing accounts payable for quite a while, not by her choice. We just didn't have enough folks. But we recently hired another young man named Chet, and I'll mess up his name. Oh, I can almost do it. Yeah, it's a great name. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, Chet, if you have met Chet, you know it, because Chet is one of the most outstanding, happy, moving around, ready to go guy. And so he is now responsible for our accounts payable. You probably won't interact with him. That he's the one dealing with our vendors and people that we have to pay and checking our invoices and getting them paid on time, all those kinds of things. So those three people, Jillian, Matthew, and Chet, now report to Peters as a manager of the department. We were kind of missing that piece. With Jack working remotely most of the time, we had three folks that really didn't have a manager on site, and I wanted to fix that. So thank you. We're glad you're here. If you want to say anything, you can, but that's up to you.
Oh, you said a lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. And I wanted to make clear that Peter didn't replace Jack. And the reason I do that is because we recently sent out an announcement with several employees that are new employees, and we sent you a picture and we gave you their names. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, it recognizes the individual, but we also want you all to know when a new face is not a strange face, okay? Because many of you do a great job of letting us know when someone's in the building that doesn't seem to belong here. Again, if we don't know that, we can't do anything about it, so thank you for that. But I think there was a question with someone we had hired in resident engagement, and there was a concern that he was taking Pedro's place. That's absolutely not the case. Even someone that said, oh, we hired a new driver, does that mean we fired Jeff? And I've stood up here, I've talked to you many times. We've been trying to get a second driver for a long time. So no, Jeff is not going anywhere. Jeff is actually our transportation manager, and our new driver, Justine, yeah, I'll do Christine. I know that's not right. Justine, if you haven't met her, delightful lady, a lot of experience. She's, I think she will be a great addition to our team. So we now have 2 drivers, we have 3 vehicles, and we are working toward what I've mentioned to you, concierge driving, which is basically where you can rent a car and a driver and go where you want to go, either by yourself or with a group of friends, and there'll be a small fee. We will keep that affordable. We don't plan to make money on it, but it is one of the ways we'll try to pay for a second driver. So on the financial side, we got our audit completed. That has now been published. There's a copy on Touchtown. There's a copy in the library upstairs. That has been filed closed and done. The board does a subsequent review of that. The board meets this week, but I'm sorry, meets next week, but I don't know that they're going to do that. I think the last I heard was the chairperson of the Audit and Finance Committee is going to meet separately with her committee and the auditors and Jack and I just to review the audit to not take up the time of the whole board. Many of you often ask about our IRS tax filing, 990, the 990. The deadline on that is not until, I think Jack told me yesterday, either October or November. So our same auditors, the accounting firm of Clifton, Larson, and Allen, CLA, they're working on that 990. They'll get it done, they'll get it sent, and we'll let you know when it comes out. Of course, we also, I said before, we did our 2 cost reports, one for Medicare and one for Medicaid. So from an accounting standpoint, from the outside looking in, we're up to date on everything. I think that's the first time in 3 or 4 years that's happened. So I'm really proud. I was pleased that we got it done. Okay. Did I hit all my buttons? I did. That's it for me. It's nice to see all of you out. Thanks for coming to these meetings. Have a good day.
Thank you, Reggie. Rosie, the floor is yours.
All right. Good morning. I think I've spoken with the majority of the residents here in this room over the past several days. So I think we're going to talk about COVID and the fact that everyone who was kind enough to follow our quarantine guidelines all tested negative for all 3 tests. So a round of applause. Thank you. And this green sheet looks very familiar to everyone, I'm sure. So this is typically the template that we work from each time because as you've all learned, along with my team, is that the guidelines continue to change. So we will be amending it as needed because living with COVID is our new normal. So we will be revisiting this time and time again. And I did receive some feedback from a couple residents as to what worked well and a couple of other pieces of information maybe we should have included here. But with that said, thank you all very much. I think I'm done with COVID for now. If anyone has any questions regarding that process, now's the time to ask them. I'm happy to answer any questions. I just don't want to revisit the whole process all over again because I know I've taken a lot of your time with that. Yes, sir.
Is the protocol available on Touchtown?
I do not believe that we posted this on Touchtown. I would have to double check. I know we have in the past. We just delivered it to those that it affected directly. But happy to do that. And again, it will change. So from time to time, when we do make the changes, I would anticipate receiving calls or emails from some of you to remind me that it's out of date. So I don't know that we want to do that necessarily, but happy to do it.
Laurel.
Hello? Yes. Hi, Laurel.
I had a couple residents contact me. I don't think they contacted you,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what's going on because, except for the 50 people, no one else got the green sheets.
Right.
Unless you knew someone and they shared and all of that. So they, they weren't aware of where did the exposure happen? Do I need to worry? Did they miss me? Do I need to be, nothing was sent to the non-exposed people about me.
Right.
Can't do who, but at least where the exposure was, approximately how many people, and just, so they have peace of mind, because they were quite worried and upset.
Sure. So we noted, first of all. Secondly, we did send a notification out after the fact, but we were a little behind the ball regarding timing. So those that were positive, it took us some time to get through all of the information that was shared, and we had to take a really deep dive to get that information. Our priority is to notify those that are affected first in order to mitigate the spread. We did then send out a notification, which was probably a day and a half later, regarding what was happening overall. When I was speaking with residents, I did give them lots of detail, sort of in hopes that they would share what was happening. And there were a handful of residents that did reach out, and that is an area we could improve on. It's getting all of our ducks in a row before we can make larger announcement, because we were still working through, is it contained? But again, our priority was addressing those that needed to be in quarantine, and that's all this is. So if I gave it to someone who it didn't affect and I didn't need them to follow this protocol, this information is not useful to them. And then they would read it and say, that's me, I've been identified as being exposed, and that is not a true statement. So we'll work through it. This is why I want the feedback, so that we can be sure to get that messaging out, and how to get that messaging, get all the other departments together to get that messaging out. Yes, you had a second? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's what I'm here for. But you said you had a couple of things. Was there only one? Oh, thank you. Okay. Yes?
Well, I just.
Hi there.
You'll need to say this out loud, but I want everybody to really stop and understand that the work that you and your team, Amy especially, the work that you did, all the notifications, everything that happened, kept us from moving into outbreak status.
Yes.
Anybody that's lived here more than a year knows what that means. So you may have to re-say that over the
So what Reggie is sharing is the fact that what myself and my team are, again, I'll reiterate, the immediate action was taken to prevent the spread, so that we didn't move into outbreak, because even one positive out of the 53 residents that I contacted would have moved us into outbreak. And we're talking about, for a limited time, closing down certain areas, as opposed to just focusing in on those individuals that could positively impact our ability to remain open in all of our other areas. And while there wasn't a lot of attendance, we still kept everything going. You may have only been dining with 8 residents as opposed to 80, because they were all in quarantine receiving their meals 3 times a day. So again, thank you for that, Reggie. But yes, that is always the priority. But yes, we do have to work on the messaging to everyone else, and that's a little bit out of my realm, but that is a process that we can perfect, sort of like this, where we know exactly what we're going to do, if it's going to post on Touchtown, what's going to happen, and that is still, it's a bit rough. So I do admit that. Yes, Helly?
All COVID updates are on Touchdown. They're under the document section.
Yes, but thank you. Yes, so all the updates, COVID updates are in Touchtown, but I still take responsibility for the fact that that most recent COVID notification did not come out for a day and a half to 2 days after the fact. I do understand that. And so that, I'm sure, impacted the number of voicemails, emails that I received. I received many, and I spent an entire day responding to everyone that following Thursday. And then I met with some of you in person. So I appreciate you all reaching out to me directly, and thanks to Touchtown, you all know how to reach me. So I was glad to answer everyone's questions. Well, some of you had really long messages. I knew exactly what you were asking, so the phone calls didn't take very long. The responses were short responses, because your questions are all valid. And had we had a message out, it may have answered everything, but I'm still going to get calls. And that's part of it, and that's fine. I enjoy speaking with you all, even about COVID. So, anything else on COVID? We're good. You all broke out on, day before yesterday? I saw lots of faces around. Wonderful. So a couple of announcements I wanted to make are regarding services to all of you. Our independent living residents. So some of you may have heard from some of our Cove East residents, and I know there are a lot of Cove East residents here. Rose, the admissions coordinator, and myself conducted some guided tours through the licensed area last month. And Covies were the first to ask. They raised their hands. And so we are using that as a model of what we're going to provide moving forward. So the Cove residents, most of those residents moved in during COVID. And because of that, and because of the COVID restrictions and having the inability to commingle levels, some of you bought into our community sight unseen. You had not seen the COVID, I'm sorry, the licensed areas because of COVID, but you trusted that we had all the services that we had promised, and you signed on the dotted line and agreed to move into the Hearthstone. So we started with touring those areas. We had a group come in. We had to break it into two because we had about 30, right, Penny? And so we broke it down into two. And Denise, thank you so much for helping coordinate this. We broke it into two groups. We started in the health center, migrated through, checked out our gym, answered questions, and then the group moved up to the third floor to our assisted living with our dining space and memory care, and then to the fourth floor with our additional apartments and our common area which we have our activities in. We answered lots of questions. We toured a couple of different types of apartments. We talked about the types of services that you might receive, whether you're going through a transition into a different level of care versus if you're independent and you're having some knee or back pain and you go to your doctor and you get an order for therapy services, that could be managed here. And just because you have a need does not mean you're targeted for a move. We're not coming after you to move you into a licensed area, I promise. We're trying to do what we can to support you in your independent living apartment. We only have so many apartments in our licensed areas. It wouldn't be a good plan to move you all in, right? So we do what we can to help you maintain and be safe in your apartments. So we're going to be having signups each month. We're going to be conducting a tour. We talk about different scenarios with levels of care, what those look like, the types of costs you can expect, and of course, everyone has individual needs. There some nuances to individual needs, but with that, you're still looking at certain costs, and you'll have a title. You'll understand what that looks like. We kick around scenarios, and that's the part I really enjoy, is just responding to all of your questions. And no matter what your needs are and what type of package you need, and we mix it up, we can provide that for you. And I want you all to have confidence in that, and we can talk through that. So we started with East, and I hope that that you all enjoyed it. I did receive some feedback, and I think Monday I'll be meeting to talk a little more about the rates and the levels of care. We mainly looked at the physical space and the accommodation, so there's that piece. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our wellness clinic. So the assisted living licensed staff, they support and provide the services in our lower level wellness clinic. So you guys come down for podiatry. You can see Dr. Rudnick and the Noble Physicians group there. They have lots of different services. We have been without a couple of key roles in our assisted living, which have impacted the clinic. And with COVID, we really couldn't provide too many services to you all there anyhow. But now we are able to. And in October, next month, you'll get more information. This is just a little sneak peek of what we're going to be providing. So we have a health and wellness nurse. Her name is Elizabeth, and we have our assessment nurse, Michael. They will be coordinating the care in the lower level, along with June, your social worker, who you all know, and myself. So some of those services that will begin we have offerings such as non-invasive services, and I'm going to read from this list that I just typed last night. We'll be providing wellness services to IL residents 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, tentatively now, between 9 and 11 by appointment. I don't want our staff to be in that space and then no one need the services. So it's going to be by appointment, and you'll have information as to how you make an appointment, how that's going to work. And some of the services will be like administering eye drops or ear drops you can't do for yourself. You might get an order from your doctor to have to administer drops for 5 days or 7 days, something like that we can help you with. It doesn't mean you have to move into assisted living because you needed assistance for 1 week, right? We're here to support you. Earwax removal. So our nurses may be the individuals performing that, or it may be a service we're providing through, and it sounds a little bit strange, a earwax removal clinic from our physicians group, but that is a really big need. We get a lot of requests for that, and to arrange appointments to go see a doctor, you might have to wait 3 months or, miss the appointment because something came up. To provide that service and what that would look like in the space we would need, I would really like to move toward clinics because I think we can serve more people in an efficient manner. So also not only the blood pressure checks, but also the monitoring. I know some of you do use that blood pressure machine downstairs. I mean, it squeezes your arm like heck. It really hurts, but it's effective. But to monitor it, if you have an order from your doctor to actually monitor your blood pressure for a certain amount of time, and that's something that maybe you just can't remember to do, or you just feel that you need support with it, we can help with that as well. Heart monitor and insulin monitor placement. So a lot of times you'll go to a doctor, your doctors think, oh, this is, they deal with these things every day. They give you an order, they place it to your pharmacy, you go and you pick up this box with this kit, with this monitor. You're like, what do I do with this? You say, well, just read the directions. Well, they're so tiny, you can't figure it out. And then sometimes, they aren't clear. We can help you with the placement of those as well. And then the final piece, which I think is important, is interpreting the physician's orders once you have an appointment, and it may be something that the doctor shared with you, but once you get home and you're reading everything that you have, it's like, I forgot what he said, or what do I do first? We can help you interpret through those orders as well. And then as part of the wellness clinic, now we bring in ancillary service providers. They come in, we coordinate it here for you, but we don't provide that service. And those include podiatry, optometry, audiology, hearing aid services, if they need to clean them, do a little repair on them. I understand they come here, but not a lot of you know about it. They want to see at least 3 residents, and we've been struggling to get that probably because the word isn't out that this service is provided. Dermatology, the on-site dermatologist, so I have to circle back on this a little bit. I don't recall who came to me, but we scheduled a speaker to talk about the services in the lower level. They're a large group. They're in each state. They kind of operate like a franchise. They're called on-site dermatology. We had a speaker here to give a presentation, and no one showed up. So he packed up and left. He's coming back next week, and he'll try again. He can come on a monthly basis. So he asked, should I leave the information since maybe, there was a conflict or we didn't have enough notice? He left all of these brochures. I asked one of my managers who was helping coordinate it to just set it over by all the other postings on the second floor by the mailboxes and the dining room. And they sort of, were misinterpreted as a scam and thought, what is this? You all typed in the name and saw a business, the headquarters in Florida. And I don't blame any of you because it looked a little sketchy to me too. But it is a legitimate business, and we could benefit from it if we need it. We should utilize it. There are other competitors out there that are using them successfully. And they tried a rollout before COVID. I actually used them in another community, and then they disappeared. And I was like, gosh, I wish we had them because we're sending our residents out currently in the licensed areas. So they are legitimate. So please, when they do come to speak or you're interested in making an appointment, I would take advantage of that service. So that's dermatology. Sorry, I'm sure the bad was on my end. Mental health counseling, that's a new service we're bringing on board. So NAVOS, N-A-V-O-S, they are a group here in Washington. They have been a Medicaid service for many, many years. And they have been acquired by Multicare in Tacoma area. They're really big, but now they're branching out. So now Navos is able to bill your Part B benefits for counseling services. So aside from supporting you with grief counseling, our wonderful Pastor Leslie and our social worker June, there are actual counselors that can come in and provide you with some therapy services if you feel you need someone to talk to. So we're going to be rolling that out as well. And then our Noble Physicians Group offering on-site office appointments 2 days a week, downstairs by appointment, and our telemedicine appointments, which are available to us 7 days a week. That's all I have. I think I won't even touch on H Strong. It's going really well. You guys did a wonderful job participating in the health fair. That was wonderful. Let me see if I could see that number here. It jumped from 8% to 25%, I believe. So we had 19 aisle residents that went to our health fair, and this most recent one we had, I think it jumped up to 40. So it's growing each and every time. I think that's it. Thank you.
All right.
Question?
Thank you.
All right.
All right. This is booster shots. Here, here, here. Rosie, here. Here you go, right here. Whatever you want to do.
I'm not far.
Okay.
Thank you, Bev Scheller. Yes, the clinics, all this clinic talk. So we are looking to have a vaccine clinic in October. So the new COVID vaccine will be available mid-October. We have been in conversations over the past few weeks with our partner pharmacy for vaccines, which is Otterson's, and that's Sonia and her team. She has a group of UW students, pharmacy students that help her with the vaccines. So we are we will be offering the flu shot, we will be offering the COVID vaccine, and we are also looking to see the steps we need to take to offer the RSV vaccine. Okay, so more information to come, of course, so. Okay. Okay.
Another round of applause. All right, Tim? What do you mean, oh, wow? This has been an information-rich session. Here comes some more.
So I have a binder full of stuff.
Well, lunch is served at noon.
Okay. First, can you hear me? Okay, I want to start with the last thing I want to talk about first. Okay? And anybody know what that is? Okay, that's one. Sidewalks, that's same category?
How are they measuring our energy?
Oh, I'll talk about that a little bit later. The one I want to talk about right out of the gate is grounds, basically. Irrigation, plants dying out on the dining room patio, hanging planters not being taken care of, irrigation issues over at the coves, irrigation issues around this building, things like that. I'm freely admit that's been my biggest struggle this whole summer, continues to be. Give you an example is over at the coves, we finally got a zone working, took a month to get it working, and then a garbage truck cut a corner and broke the line. So tomorrow that will be repaired, but that's the kind of struggles, one step forward, two back sometimes. Trying to fix some of the drip lines on these hanging planters, drip lines up on the dining room patio, things like that. But the biggest disappointment for me is disappointing the garden committee that manages the meadows and stuff like that. So I have let them down, and I'm going to fix that quite quickly. It has risen to the highest level it can for me, and know that I will be meeting with them and fixing some things. Okay, that rolls into the sidewalk issue of. I got an update on Tuesday for this one, thank goodness. Terra Firma is the company that we have is going to be doing the work and stuff like that. But the biggest struggle they're having, and Frank might appreciate this, is the bureaucracy with the city. Okay, they are having to get a traffic control plan. They're also having to get a right-of-way permit. So they've already submitted those, but they've been kicked back for corrections. So all summer long, they've been just trying to get the darn permits. And she is fully expecting that they will be finally approved and that we will get this done here in September or early October. So that was one had hoped to be done by the 1st of September, but it is going out a little bit further, kind of thing. So expect that to still happen. Let me talk about more. The energy thing, let's talk about that. Gotta get my big piece of paper. And I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. Anybody ever hear of House Bill 1257?
Oh, sure.
How about Senate Bill 5722? Have you ever seen a House bill or Senate bill? They tend to be really thick with a lot of talk. The bottom line for 1257, it focuses on energy efficiency and the reduction of fossil fuel consumption for every building within the state of Washington. Okay? It impacts us in that we need to do some energy studies to determine where we fit in that category and stuff like that. We have to get our energy consumption down to a certain level, and we need to at least have a plan in place by 2026. So last week and then next week, I have an electrical engineering firm coming in, and they're doing things like thermal engineering of some of our motors, electrical systems. Tomorrow, the structural person is doing things like a roof inspection. He's doing thermal imaging of our building envelope, around the building, around the windows, trying to see where we're losing energy and things like that. Because that will give us a roadmap of things we have to do, capital planning, things like that. It may involve replacing windows. It may involve replacing major heating and ventilating equipment, our chiller, all different kinds of things. It may require us to at least have a plan to fix over the next few years. It's kind of voluntary up till 2026, and then they use the terms mandatory after that, which usually means it's going to be punitive after that. So we want to make sure that we are at least in a position to have a plan and be moving forward with the plan. So that's the short version of House Bill 1257 and Senate Bill 5722. And the Senate bill was actually an expansion. We were exempt for a while under House Bill, but Senate bill tightened up the reins and made it more stringent and pretty much covered every building in Seattle for sure, but Washington State. Okay? Does that help with that a little bit? Okay. Because there's a lot of info in here. I'm going to save that one for last. No, I could do this one now. I like this one. Floor care. Who's seen the dining room?
Yeah.
Who likes the results of the dining room?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
fun watching them do it.
So Nate, and you're going to hear that name a lot. Nate is a godsend to me. He's my second. He is a phenomenal young man. Anybody under 50 is young to me. So I really love the fact that he's here. One of the first challenges he was thrown within 2 weeks was floor care in this dining room carpet. Reggie kind of threw it our way of, it looks like crap. You can't say that. Don't put that in minutes. Because it really did. It really does.
Over here. Yeah.
So the first step was figuring out what we can do. His first thought with it is, okay, we'll bring in a company to have it done. Okay. Well, last year a company came in and had it done, and Reggie was not very happy with their performance, and you could see in less than a year it was already looking horrible again. In less than a year, which means we didn't have a plan in place, of how to maintain it and things like that. So that's the biggest hurdle, is creating the plan. But the equipment, thankfully Reggie approved us to get a brand new Chariot carpet extractor, and that is, if you've seen it operating, it is great to see. But over the past week or so, Nate's been coming in the evenings, sometimes quite late, working till midnight or later, and doing the dining room, because that's the only time you could really do it. we saw immediate results, and not even better results than actually a professional company did. We were initially thinking we were going to have to replace carpet. That's what we thought, that we were going to at least have to replace some carpet tiles. So far, it's restoring the carpet pretty much to almost a pristine condition. The butt of it is now we got to maintain that. So we will probably be doing that over a month, maybe 2 months, but we have to do it on a regular basis moving forward, along with other floor surfaces within the community. The healthcare hallway, that's a good example of one that really needs to be refreshed. This carpet in the chapel, when you first walk in, you see some spots and things like that. So we're creating an entire department, basically, because Nate can't do it all the time, neither can Tualdi. They've been coming in the evenings. We have a position that's going to be posted for a floor technician, and that's somebody who will be dedicated to that type of work. Okay. All three built. Yeah, this is for everything. We had to have a contractor come in and do Cove East on the first floor, both and Cove West. We don't want to do that. We don't want to pay contractors to do that kind of work for us when we could do it. So we're getting the equipment, we're going to get the personnel, and moving forward, we'll have a really good plan in place. Briefly, I want to talk about security, okay? And I'm going to keep it really global. Definitely been a lot of activity reported to us, especially from around the coves. Everybody knows this neighborhood well. It's nothing new. Drug dealing, transients, homeless, things like that. It's not new. It just tends to be more evident, especially in the summer, kind of thing. So know that Reggie/me have taken that very seriously, because Reggie gets the brunt of the calls for things like that. Know that he is, and now me, we're reaching out not only to our community partners, but agencies and things like that, because one, we can't do this alone. We're not going to be able to solve the drug problem, homelessness in this community by ourselves. Okay, we can't do that. So I know Reggie has met directly with the security company and the building maintenance team over at the dock, trying to build some relationships around here as a first step. We also recognize that we needed to have a more formal security outfit working with us. Today, we basically have Keep the Peace, that it's a third-party vendor kind of thing. We have posted a position for a Hearthstone security guard, okay? And that's going to give us a lot more latitude for ensuring that we can patrol areas, that we can ensure, hopefully, that everybody feels at least a sense of safety kind of thing.
How many hours? I mean,
40 hours a week. Okay, and that's dedicated time, and that's going to be a real blessing. For me, it's going to help Diana, because Diana, if you don't know Diana, she's been here forever. She works the front desk all night long. She's the one looking at the security cameras. She's the one who's making the calls. She's going to have really good support now, which is, she deserves that, and you deserve that. So you're going to see some changes. I'm being real careful of who we hire as a security guard, because they got to be effective, but we don't need no RoboCops running around here either, okay? We need an effective security guard, but not one that threatens individuals and things like that, okay? I have interviews already set. I have actually an interview tomorrow, hopefully, and we've had numerous applicants that I'm screening through with Stacy and Karen up in HR, and hopefully we'll get that position locked up here in the next week or two.
When you mentioned 40 hours, is that normal working hours? Because I would think the security needs might be off hours.
Our preferred schedule for that is going to be 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., okay? 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. Okay. Good. Questions? I covered a lot, quickly. When you see Nate, I think a lot of you have already engaged with Nate, but thank you. He's doing a great job.
All right, thank you.
Well, as I said a minute ago, information rich. Thank you for giving us really solid information about what's going on. So a couple of things. We will have briefly some reports from the dining committee, the movie committee, and then we'll do the floor reports. A couple of things that I would like to mention. Tim just touched on it, the dockside apartments. Two folks from down at the Coves, Jill McAuliffe and Sarah Allen, approached the people at the dockside saying, you know, there's just a whole lot of things going on in the neighborhood that just don't seem to be appropriate. And the people at the dockside were very responsive. The woman who is the district manager for Lehigh, the organization that manages it, immediately responded via email, and we are going to be having a meeting with representatives from those two buildings. I'll be there, and I don't know whether it'll be Reggie, but somebody representative from management to meet with the district manager sometime in the next 2 weeks. One thing that did happen right away that was really positive is once Lehigh got that information, they went back into the dockside, and there was a back door coming back onto an alley that people were coming in and out of all of the time. They have redone all the fobs for the residents. They can't use the back door anymore. And when you go into the building, if you're a resident, they get you into the building, and then you can only go to your floor. So they've really increased security there, and they're very responsive to our concerns. And then if you had a chance to see the candidates forum the other day, City Councilman Strauss said he is very much aware of the situation. After that meeting, his aide called Hallie and said, you know, if you want to meet with us to talk about that situation further, we'd be happy to do that. So while there is grave concern, I think it's important to know that there is action being taken to make sure that the concerns of our community are representative in dealing with that community. So that's an update on all of that. So we had a really good resident council meeting last week. That's when all of the floor chairs, we meet, bring up issues and whatnot. And your floor chairs have the minutes and whatnot, but there's another issue that came up that is really quite interesting. And it has to do with the new U-shaped sofa on the second floor. Okay? I think it's polite to say it's received mixed reviews. I had a long talk with Reggie and some other folks about it. And it's a real concern about how do we address this problem. And what's driving it is there are many folks who come down and order their meals at 4:30 or thereabouts, and then they wait for them to be delivered before they can take them back up to their apartments. And they kind of congregate all around in that area, and sometimes there are places to sit, they're not. And it's, how do we make it so that it's comfortable for all of them and not impede the operation of the dining room? And that was an attempt to solve that problem. Some would say it wasn't successful, but it was a first step. So in my conversation with Reggie, he said, well, what do folks want? So what I'm going to ask the floor chairs to do is to talk about that. Let's come up with a sense of what we, the community that uses that area, what would you like to see there? All right? Now, what we can't do is have 55 people send recommendations to Reggie or whatever, so we'll try and run it through our organization. I just want you to know that it is not being ignored, and it is a problem that there are many different attempts to solve. All right? So having said that, why don't we hear about what's going on with the dining committee? All right? Penny? Pardon?
Can I talk from here?
No, if you come up here so that you're on the camera.
On the camera.
You don't have to go up there, you can stand here.
Oh, great. The camera's right there. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate
Oh, wait,
that.
hang on, I don't think I turned it on.
Hi, everybody. This will be fairly short.
Right into it.
Hi, everybody. This will be fairly short. Whoops. Need to look at my notes. Need to look at my notes here. Here are just a few highlights from the September Dining Committee meeting. First, and I think foremost, is to raise dining standards in the third floor dining room. Dining services staff will attend monthly third and fourth floor meetings to provide an update on resident requests and service improvements. For a long while, third and fourth floor have had many concerns, and that these concerns are finally being addressed is a wonderful thing, and some improvements have already been made for these residents. Kiosk satisfaction rate continues to improve. June, the satisfaction rate was 76%, July 78%, and August a whopping 81%. The Seafair and Luau lunches have been a great success, and an Oktoberfest lunch will occur September 23rd with various brats and German dishes. Bistro use has been increasing. In about 8 weeks, plus or minus, hot pasta dishes will be served. In addition, for a while, they have had a breakfast burrito, which is available only in the morning from 8 to 11 a.m. And last but not least, and I will say, hopefully at last, the continuing condiments kerfuffle will be addressed to improve the delivery before or with the meal. So we will see if that does occur more often. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's really good. Okay, Don, can you do the movie committee report from up here?
Yes, I can.
No, do it here, so that you're on the camera.
All right. Hello, everybody. Your movie committee continues to work at a torrid pace to give you as full a menu of movies as is possible. So let me say what we just had our meeting yesterday, and for October movies, we are going to do both Saturday nights and Tuesday nights. Let me talk about the Tuesday nights first. We have a film noir series, and there are 5 Tuesdays in October. And the movies that we will show during that time are The Maltese Falcon, Notorious, Night of the Hunter, Chinatown, and LA Confidential. That is a really good lineup, I think. Saturday night movies. We decided to focus movie showing for one actor or actress. In October, we are going to do Paul Newman. There are so many that we may have to do Paul Newman Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, I don't know, but here's Part 1. The Long Hot Summer, Cool Hand Luke, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and an older Paul Newman, Nobody's Fool. So that's it for the movies. I wanted to say just a couple of words about what happened the last Saturday night. From time to time, stuff happens, and the equipment does not work as we hoped it would. And I did what is the worst thing to me I ever do, and that is to say to people, I'm sorry, but there's no movie tonight. So we decided, the movie committee has decided to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Now, we don't have control of all of the technical processes, but we do have control to some extent of whether or not you'll see a movie. You may not see the movie that was scheduled for that, but you'll see a movie. So we're going to have a list of standby movies. And so if somehow at the last minute there is a technical glitch and we can't show the movie that is scheduled, we'll have one to show you. And it'll be movies that the committee picks that are, some of our favorites. So I'm hoping that I can pledge to you right now that what happened on Saturday night will not happen again. Okay, one other thing, and that is that we can do that because in this building we have a collection of over 600 DVDs down in the lower level. And now, on Touchtown, you can find the whole list. You don't even have to go down there to figure out whether there's something you would like to see. You can go to Touchtown, and then you go to, let's see, to Lakeside Library. Touch that, and you will see something that says DVD collection. And so you can find out if we have a copy of something that you'd like to see. You're welcome to check them out. Most of the movies that we'll have as kind of backups will be in our collection or in somebody's personal collection. The other thing I feel I very much need to do, and that is to thank the members of the movie committee. They are a wonderful group of people. All of us are movie junkies, and so when we get together for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, we just have fun in doing what we do. I did not mention the movie in October at the Cove, which is Cyrano, the Robin Williams Cyrano, right? Roxanne, I'm sorry. It's a story that was started. Oh well, never mind. It's Roxanne, and so that's on the third Wednesday of every month in Cove West in the Bridge. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. No. Hang on to the microphone. I have work for you. Okay. Because we are now going to have the building floor reports. So first, Cove East, Denise. So it'd be great if you could come up here so that people can see you, or just use the mic. That's fine.
I'll just use the mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, Cove East seemed to have gotten quite a few members of the quarantine group, so I want to thank the dining staff for their deliveries of, I guess, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was surprised we got that many meals, but that helped us survive. I wanted to thank Rosie also, too, for the tour that she put together for us. We had very informative information. We had a barbecue, end of season barbecue, so Tim and John both helped us getting the grill over, helping us with the hot plates, and John even remembered to bring tablecloths, which I had totally forgotten to ask for, so it made a nice touch. And yes, we are full, which is great, and we're trying to come up with another activity in October to, again, build community within the community. Okay.
Good. Thank you. Cove West.
Yes, I would second the comments from Denise about the COVID lockdown. We were very well fed, and thankfully everybody came out of that with negative tests, so we're back in action. Prior to that, we also had a barbecue at Cove West, which was well attended, and we were also well fed there. And the people who have garden boxes have been very generous in sharing their wealth with us, and we're happy about that. I think that's about all. Yes, we still have 3 open apartments in our building, but hopefully they will be filled one of these days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. 10th floor. There's Sheila's over here.
Thank you.
So if you're going to stand, Sheila, can you come up and turn around? Because the camera's just seeing the back of your head. It'd be cool if it could see you. There you go. That's what I said. Didn't I say camera? Yeah. See the camera? There you go.
So 10th floor, we had a successful root beer float party, and in October, Keith is going to help us undertake making apple butter, and we've always all got a sample little teaspoon of it. It is heavenly. So Keith and Teresa have been very helpful to us to provide some planning for special times. We also asked about the guest room, and I guess an extra one that's been answered. And the new furniture, we had a lot of issues about that, and that was discussed already. I guess the only other thing I want to say is that our COVID detainee gets great kudos for following her quarantine to the letter. And I talked to her this morning, and she was to be tested at 10 and felt like she would be freed. And many of you who know Betty, that's going to be a real treat. So she has just been amazing. I have not even seen more than a little peek out her door, so for quite a while. I think that's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the 9th floor is way over here to the right. Jean?
Pretty good for an 80-year-old.
Thank you. The 9th floor had a very successful second annual waffle party on August 24th, which is National Waffle Day. And then also a very successful root beer float party. We kind of followed the lead of other floors, I think, because it sounded so good. As far as concerns, I think most of what the 9th floor would be concerned about was addressed this morning by management. And we appreciate that because they are really, I feel, very responsive to concerns and problems in all of our buildings. And I give them a lot of credit for that. So thank you. We have 2 vacancies, 2 studio apartments, and then the other one is the 2-bedroom that will be occupied in October and November. So we're doing well. We need to plan something fun for October.
Good. Thank you.
7.
8th floor.
Hi there, I'm Mary Kay Crescencia. Liz Wagoner, our 8th floor chairman, asked me to give our report.
Mary Kay, could you move over here so the camera gets you? Just go over to your right. There you go. Perfect.
Well, our floor has had some tough moments. We had our neighbor Millie that we had to say goodbye. And we have Joe Even, the health center, and we have Yvonne in the hospital. So we've been kind of having tough moments. But we had this pizza party with a corn toss that Liz arranged for from Pedro. And it was a blast. If you haven't done it as a group, you should try. Even our star of graceful aging, Franz, who just celebrated 103 on Monday, he was able to play in it and give us a little competition. And then this Sunday, we are going to have an outing to Liz and Tom's Camino Island home, and a dozen of us are going to gather there for that. We had about a handful of people affected by the quarantine. We're not sure if they were positive or if they were quarantined because of exposure, but we did also have that go on at our place. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jim Killingsworth, 7th floor. Over to your right.
The 7th floor is thinking of getting a list of contact names for those residents who are willing to share their contact names. It would be kept by the floor president and vice president. We had a couple of situations this last summer where a list like that would have really helped with different situations. We have 4 vacancies we're looking to fill. Sounds like they're well on their way to filling the vacancies. That's about it.
Great, thank you. There's Jackie, 6th floor.
Just a little bit this way.
Hi there, I'm Jackie, 6th floor. We had a root beer float event outside the dining room on the deck there, and that was enjoyed by the people that attended, so that was great. We're still hoping to plan a trip to the bistro, for several of our residents haven't made it over there, and we know that there's some delightful food over there, so we want to see if we can somehow coordinate that as far as transportation for the people who need that. We are having Rosie come to our floor meeting next week to talk about, maybe to review some of the things that she shared this morning about additional services that are going to be available to the independent living residents. But another issue that's come up that we're hoping to talk to her about is one that Jim just mentioned, and that is we've had a couple situations where our residents have had injuries and have ended up in the hospital. We've seen their newspaper outside their door. We've become concerned not knowing what's happened to them. We've checked with the front desk to see if they're on vacation, if they've notified the building that they're going to be gone, and they hadn't. And finally, we had to call maintenance to come in and open the door and make sure our resident was okay. They weren't there. So then we were left wondering what happened, and later learned that the resident had fallen and had been admitted to the hospital. So again, the same kind of question, are people willing to give their names so that we can notify the floor when someone's been hospitalized, or even down in the second level nursing home when we don't know they've been moved down there. So we're gonna have a conversation with Rosie about that, because we had understood that there was a system of the social worker at the Hearthstone notifying the floor chair, but we haven't seen that process. So we want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Laurel, from the 5th floor.
I'm reporting for the 5th floor, and we lost a longtime resident of the 5th floor, Nancy Eisen. She had been in the health center the last year and a half, 2 years, I believe. But Greg Eisen, you know, took wonderful, absolutely brave care of her until that time. And then Constance Sawyer, known as Con Sawyer, moved down to assisted living. We have 2 apartments available. They're next to each other. Her apartment was a deluxe studio, and the other one is a 1-bedroom. So I'm going to guess that it's going to be held for possible renovation to a 2-bedroom. I'd really like everyone, we also had a root beer float party, which was attended by everybody. That was great. I'd like everyone to take a chance to come up to the 5th floor and see the elevator lobby exhibit. It's the Ethiopian exhibit celebrating their new year. It got started with the idea from Rita on our floor, because she and Anne, who's also on our floor, Anne Joyce, both served in Ethiopia in the Peace Corps. And Rita still works with students from Ethiopia with college submissions and things like that that they need help in English with. It's a great exhibit. We had 3 employees provide items for it. Zeb, Emmy, and Weenie, is that her name? W-E-I-N-I. I guess she mostly works in assisted living health center. So the 3 of them added a lot of information. There's food examples. There's some beautiful dishware, clothes. So check it out. And that's about it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then from the fourth floor, Eileen is over here to the right, if you would take her the mic. Do you want to come up front?
Of course.
Okay.
Hi. Over here?
That's it, right there. That's good, right there. That's fine.
All right. So, we had also a root beer float party to celebrate 4 birthdays in August, which was very successful and obviously well attended. The main issue in assisted living is, as was mentioned, the condition of the dining room. Their dining room is on the 3rd floor, and I have to tell you, I don't go to it. And, well, the 2nd floor dining room, Arthur wrote, is a showcase for an attractive dining room. The illumination is perfect, the furnishing is elegant, and every wall hangs exquisite artwork. And he goes on about that. Has anyone noticed any renovations, improvements, or even attention to the condition of the 3rd floor dining room? It's dark and unattractive, and the time it takes to move the meals up from the kitchen means that most of the food comes there cold. People are very unhappy with it, and it sounds as though improvements are underway. I hope so. There are some openings, but this is a very not volatile, but it changes. The population of assisted living changes to some extent. And we're doing well. We're getting to have more communities type organization events. So we'll continue that. That's all.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all the floor chairs and building chairs, right? Thank you for spending your time here. One thing about the carpet cleaning upstairs, those of you who've been to ice rinks and seen the Zamboni, we have a carpet Zamboni. The guy actually stands on it and rides it around the dining room. It's really pretty amazing. And I do think we need to talk to Chef Morgan about having an all-hands root beer float party. So do I hear a motion for adjournment? Do I hear a second? All in favor? This meeting is hereby adjourned.